Welcome to the Chamber's inaugural State of Business Address. Thank you for joining me today. As we enter the new year, I'd like to take this opportunity to reflect on our business climate in Massachusetts, discuss the opportunities for policy progress on key priorities for employers, and renew the business community's commitment to work with government leaders on practical and meaningful public policy solutions. And on that note, I want to congratulate Governor Healy, Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, and all our newly elected state officials. The business community is your partner. The Chamber represents more than 1,000 employers and hundreds of thousands of employees who serve millions of consumers in Massachusetts. And all are impacted by state policy decisions. In our daily work, we are fortunate to hear directly from our members about the economic and policy issues that most impact people and businesses. Sharing this feedback with policymakers is essential to ensuring a competitive, dynamic economy that works for all in Massachusetts. So what am I hearing? Our employers are optimistic when it comes to their own businesses or organizations, proud to live and work in Massachusetts, and energetic about contributing to the success of our state. However, they also express uncertainty about the economy's direction and the Commonwealth's future. Contrasts are playing out in other ways across the local and national business picture. There are more than 200,000 unfilled positions in Massachusetts, but that is contrasted with layoffs at major employers in specific sectors. State unemployment at 3%, a near record level, but commercial office vacancy is at a two-decade high. The state's GDP is 8% higher than it was in 2018, but there are 75,000 fewer workers in the labor force. The state of business in Massachusetts is a contrast as well, dynamic but unsettled. It's unsettled partly because of a dramatically changing landscape. When it comes to competing for employers and talent, remote work is creating a seismic shift. I hear anecdotes every day. A small business that went from 40 people in the Boston office to 35, with 5 working remotely in other states. A major national consulting firm's employees opting to move to New York City because it's cheaper to live there. This mobility of people, their talents, and their families is connected to remote and hybrid flexibility. The increasing options and benefits for workers are central to the future of work, and we cannot ignore it. With this uncertainty, the business community's visibility, voice, and leadership are important as ever. Our collective message must include that the business community will continue to lead and be an effective partner with government to maintain and grow an inclusive economy. We encourage the new administration and all government leaders to embrace the business community as job creators and champions of vibrancy throughout the Commonwealth. Our future requires that we avoid competitive complacency. Yes, government has the ability, through its delivery of services, legislation, and regulation, to enable or restrict economic activity. But that economic activity and those jobs are created by business and commerce. The Chamber's vision for the future centers on an inclusive economy for all people, communities, and businesses, which will make Massachusetts not just competitive, but also an economic leader in the 21st century. We hear that word a lot, but what does competitive actually mean? Competitiveness is keeping the employers and talent that we have here, both large and small, while cultivating new businesses and new people. Other cities and states are proactively and aggressively working to attract talent, build businesses, and create industries. If we're being honest, they are working harder and with greater focus than we are. To compete and to win, Massachusetts must be a place where employers and employees want to come and want to feel welcome. The Chamber's agenda for an inclusive, equitable, and competitive economy addresses taxes, transportation, housing, talent, and climate change policy implementation. All these pillars are important to the vibrancy of the region. Success and progress do not just happen. We must take responsibility for our future and create and sustain a strong business climate. This includes a tax structure that avoids returning to the Massachusetts label we fought so hard to shed, limiting direct and indirect costs imposed on employers and allowing employers flexibility to make the best decisions that fit their businesses and employees. A strong business climate also embraces the crucial role that employers play in employing residents, closing racial and gender wealth gaps, and responding to the needs of consumers, as well as funding government. On the Chamber agenda, tax issues will come to the forefront this year, with state and city governments flush with cash following 3 years of explosive revenue growth and inflows of federal money. Halfway into fiscal year 2023, state tax collections are $333 million, or nearly 10% ahead of where DOR estimated they would be. Plus, the state is expecting more revenue from the recently passed millionaires tax. Some of those revenues should be used to protect existing industries and businesses, stimulate new economic activity, and correct tax policies where Massachusetts is an outlier. And we should also mitigate unintended consequences from the millionaires tax. We can have the best business climate in the world, but if people, commuters, can't get to work, what's the point? The results of an underinvested, mismanaged transit system came to a head with a death on the Red Line, a fire on the Orange Line, and a month-long shutdown of the Orange Line that did not yield the promised results. The transportation headaches aren't just on public transit. Drivers have them too. Boston is the second most congested city in the United States and the fourth in the world. It is unacceptable that the options for commuters is to choose between nation-leading, really world-leading, congestion on highways or nation-leading safety incidents on public transit. To both improve public transit and reduce road congestion, the emphasis must be on recreating the MBTA. The T needs a GM with experience running a transit system and a C-suite safety position. And I'm pleased to support Governor Healey's intentions to do both. Culturally, the T needs a change in mindset. Rather than simply reacting to ridership levels with service level adjustments, the T should have ridership goals so that it is working to proactively attract riders by being safe and reliable. The state also needs regional transit that is affordable and convenient for riders, both in and out of Boston. And across the Commonwealth, node connections that encircle large metro areas and employment centers will benefit families and commuters. Regional transit and core transit are fundamentally different. It might be time to spin commuter rail out from the MBTA so it can focus on statewide connections, operations, and contract management. We must also deal with how are we going to pay for and price mobility consumption into the future in a strategic way. The current fee, fare, toll, and tax structure is not designed to help address other public policy challenges like housing and emissions. The structure is geographically and socially inequitable. Furthermore, state law requires that gas-powered vehicles be phased out starting in 2035, effectively eliminating the gas tax. In just 12 years, the biggest source of transportation funding will be greatly reduced. For decades, the state lurched from one transportation financial crisis to another and always relied on the patchwork fix. And in just 2 years, we know that the T is heading for another fiscal cliff. But a focused mobility pricing commission can set Massachusetts up with a long-term strategic plan for transportation financing that incentivizes behavior, is equitable, and will survive the energy and fuel transition. This proposal has passed the legislature twice now, but not signed by the governor. We will advocate for a mobility pricing commission again this session. When transportation doesn't work, it shrinks the area where people are able and willing to live, which drives up prices. High housing costs affect the state's ability to retain and compete for talent and employers. Last fall, the median monthly mortgage payment in Suffolk County was over $3,700, nearly $45,000 per year, just for a mortgage, making Boston an expensive place to live. Not surprisingly, large metro areas that are gaining population all have lower housing costs. In some cases, like Dallas, the median monthly mortgage is less than half of Boston. I'm encouraged by Governor Healey's announcement that she plans to create a focused housing secretariat because we need to figure out the housing problem to keep our workforce and our families here. We must also acknowledge that high housing costs and a limited housing supply are symptoms of land use and local control policies. The City of Boston, for instance, approved less new housing last year than it has in any year since 2015. We all know that Massachusetts invented town meeting, and we cherish our local control culture. However, we need to look at the entire Commonwealth and evaluate how local zoning decisions impact the state's housing, energy, and transportation needs. The state should expand upon local comprehensive or master plans to create a statewide plan. The plan should prioritize the existing and future demands on land in Massachusetts, from housing to energy infrastructure to climate mitigation to transportation. These priorities are important not just for running a business, but also because they impact every employee in Massachusetts. Talent must be on everyone's mind so we can foster a truly inclusive economy. We need to recommit to the economic success of individuals, families, and communities in our workforce. First, we must leverage the talent we have here. Experiential learning should be integrated throughout the public education system. We know it works, whether it's apprenticeships, vocational technical education, or other on-the-job learning. Apprenticeships can set someone on a lifelong career path that will change both their and their family's economic trajectory. Investing in these types of transformative initiatives, like apprenticeships, is what it means to champion equity. That's why the Chamber launched the Massachusetts Apprenticeship Network in 2022, which, in just 8 months, placed 141 candidates in employer-based apprenticeship programs. We will build this network larger in 2023 and advocate for state support for apprenticeships with the new administration. The business community also needs a stronger strategic partnership with Boston Public Schools. Consider this: students entering the first grade today will be in the full-time workforce in just 12 to 16 years. Employers are crucial partners in ensuring that students have access to learn and develop the skills for a successful life and career. Partnership with BPS can no longer mean turning to business to simply write checks. We need to aim high and create the most forward-looking business community public schools partnership in the nation. This includes experiential learning and curriculum collaboration that will ensure every student is thriving and career-bound. We are pleased to partner with Mayor Wu and Superintendent Skipper on this initiative. We must also be an attractive place for new, diverse talent. Of the country's 20 largest metro areas, Boston has the smallest share of population under age 18. We are a region that depends on international immigration, and it has been declining by more than half since 2015. Fiercely advocating for sensible federal immigration reform must be a priority for businesses as well as our federal, state, and local leaders. All the priorities I've outlined today aim to enhance our state's competitiveness and ensure Massachusetts remains a great place to work and live for businesses and people alike. But the complex issue of climate change will also impact how large and small businesses operate. We need to reach our long-term climate goals with a practical and data-driven transition that allows our economy and our residents to flourish. But this transition does not need to only be a challenge to overcome. It also represents an opportunity that we should embrace. I'm encouraged by the Governor's announcement and the ongoing support of the Legislature to bolster the clean energy industry throughout the Commonwealth, which would supplement the strengths of financial services, healthcare, life sciences, and higher education. We should also look to other sectors that will ensure we hold and enhance our position as a leading innovator, like technology, AI, and robotics. Being competitive also means thinking about how we can all do things better. Let me emphasize a foundational element that I previously discussed. Embedded in our Chamber's culture and work is the consistent use of an equity lens. I want you to hear loudly and clearly that we will continue to approach policy issues with this equity lens. Gender, racial, and geographic equity go hand in hand with competitiveness and economic growth. These topics are not mutually exclusive, but instead must be interwoven. Economic growth with equity and inclusion must be our mantra for the future of commerce. We will approach our work in 2023 by also showing a willingness to partner to achieve practical, long-lasting results, as we have in the past, on pay equity legislation, paid family and medical leave, CORE reform, non-competes, and a host of other important items. We look forward to continuing to be a key conduit for feedback from businesses, employees, and consumers to policymakers on issues outlined above, as well as many other specific issues. That list includes child care, data privacy, health care, and employment laws. Although we may face a challenging economic landscape this year, we have significant opportunities to strategize together to drive results and define our future. We can produce transformative solutions. With all of this, we must remember that public policy has real-world impacts on the trajectory of the Commonwealth's industries and the lives of people that power those industries. They are the dynamic engines of our success and why the rest of the nation is working hard to compete with the Commonwealth's achievements and attract our talent. Thank you for joining us for the 2023 State of Business Address. I'm looking forward to all that we will accomplish in 2023, representing our members' voices and continuing to be a place for all businesses and all people to thrive.